The next thing that I want to bring to your attention, and the same rules apply, is an article that appeared um, in about that. An article. I'm trying to find the article at the same time that I'm talking. Please excuse me. This article connects to the Jeffrey Epstein files, and this could reference as, since I was talking about David and Goliath, as those 5 smooth stones that are mentioned in that same David and Goliath story. Okay. And this one is entitled I can get to the top of it. Teen models, powerful men, and private dinners when Trump hosted Look of the Year. There's a little bit of that fictional character Sherlock Holmes in me as well. And my question was, what years did Donald Trump own beauty pageants? And this is the article that it referred me to. It's more than 5 years old, dated Saturday, 14 March 2020, around 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Some interesting facts. It should be noted that March 2020 was 1 month before Breonna Taylor was shot and killed in Louisville, Kentucky by members of the Louisville Metropolitan Police Department in April 2020. That's 2 months before George Floyd was killed by police officers with the Minneapolis Police Department kneeling on his neck for 8 minutes and 47 seconds, ignoring his pleas of, "I can't breathe." But it was published in the same month that the global COVID-19 outbreak was declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization on March 11, 2020. The Black Lives Matter movement gained worldwide momentum soon after that. Those are the events that surrounded the posting of this article that I'm about to share with you now. The article is published by the by The Guardian, and it does allow you to view the opening paragraphs. And then you have to sign in using Google, Apple, or your email. After that, you're looking at an hour or more reading material. I did read it myself and in its entirety, and it took an hour at least, if not more. So there's a lot of attention given to dates, events, and who was present. It opens this way. It has a picture at the top of the article. In the early 90s, Donald Trump judged the world's biggest modeling competition, since hit by allegations of abuse. This is how the people who were there remember it. By Lucy Osborne, Harry Davies, and Stephanie Kirch-Gosner, a special investigation. At the top of the article is a picture captioned, "Donald Trump, then 45, with contestants in the 1991 Look of the Year competition, the year he was a judge." Before I continue with my comments, and excerpts from the article, I strongly suggest to you, the viewing audience, that you take the time to read this article for yourself. Because rich, powerful men in the modeling industry, in control of modeling agencies, beauty contests, and the contestants, it has an international component. Once you are signed in, you will have to press the back button several times to return to the article. The beauty contests mentioned here were for girls aged 14 to 19 years old. The men mentioned, starting with Donald Trump as owner of the beauty contest, with its components were men who owned the modeling agencies that supplied the girls for the contest and also were judges as well. At stake was a life-changing prize, $150,000 contract with the world's then leading modeling agency, Elite Model Management, run by John Casablancas. In 1991 and 92, the Elite contest was filmed for a 60-minute glossy TV special. The stories that were told to The Guardian suggest that Casablancas and some of the men in his orbit used the contest to engage in sexual relationships with vulnerable young models. Some of these allegations amount to sexual harassment, abuse, or exploitation of teenage girls. Others are more accurately described as rape. Jeffrey Epstein is mentioned in this group of men as well. Epstein was connected to Casablancas during the 1990s. Casablancas sent a teenage model for her first casting call at an address on New York's Upper East Side to meet a photographer who it turns out was Epstein. The lawsuit states that Epstein ordered the 15-year-old girl to undress before taking photographs of her, pushing her against the wall, and sexually assaulting her. This resulted in him being taken to court. So Jeffrey Epstein, who was put in prison in 2019, had a soliciting for prostitution of a underage girl and served time in 2008, also was in court for this incident as well. In 1996, Trump acquired the Miss Universe organization and reported $10 million deal that handed him control of 3 large, well-established pageants: Miss Universe, Miss USA, and Miss Teen USA. 3 years later, he founded Trump Model Management, poaching many staff from Elite. I wanted to share, if I can get this to work correctly, a little excerpt that kind of explains a particular thing about this period that mentions Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein being in the same place at the same time. So it appears that because of the amount of money that's involved that these men have, in the 80s, when Donald Trump bought Mar-a-Lago, Epstein also bought a house not far from Mar-a-Lago. When it comes to New York, Trump Towers and hotels such as that, they were, venues for pageants and things of that nature. So on this particular occasion that I'm trying to scroll to access, one of the modeling agency's controlling person or managing person was given $30,000 by Donald Trump for the airfare and limousine service to transport a group of girls from that modeling agency to the hotel. When he got the girls there and spoke to Donald Trump, after a couple of hours of observation, he was asking, well, where are all the guys, Donald? Because the only person that was there, besides Trump, was Jeffrey Epstein. So it was considered to be an Epstein party. Read it for yourself. At the end of the article, it mentions that Casablancas had passed away at the time that Donald became president. But the idea of going after young teenage girls with one of the modeling agency owners was so strong that when he was in his 40s, he married a 17-year-old girl. It also mentions that at the time the article was posted and Donald Trump had become president and Casablancas had passed away, at least 25 allegations of sexual misconduct against the president, ranging from unwanted advances and harassment to serious sexual assaults, more than half related to models or pageant contestants. Many of the models complained that Donald Trump would walk into their dressing rooms when they were naked or half naked, and it goes on from there. I want to kind of address the fact that these are allegations and it doesn't seem like they were moved forward to court proceedings or charges. In this particular time period, to kind of put the pieces together, you have Jeffrey Epstein, and then also mentioned in the article, it's just named Maxwell. So we already know from things that have been published in the media that Justine was recruiting young girls from Florida to be a part of this sex trafficking, although they were not approached like that. They were approached like, oh, you're so cute, you should be a model. You think you'd like to do that? And all they had to do was, show an interest, and they were scooped up. And then once they got involved and found out that it was not what they thought it was going to be, especially with these men taking advantage of them, who else would they go to complain to but the person who recruited them? And it was probably, as it says, brushed under the rug, was maybe a comment like, well, you said you wanted a modeling career. This is a part of being a model. And opportunities for recourse were reduced to little to none. And the thing about teenagers, boys and girls, those puberty years, or those years from 13 to 19, are considered the years related to puberty, when their minds begin to mature along with their bodies. You know, hair starts to grow on their bodies and things of this nature. But when it comes to sexual experience, they don't have any. So for them to tell a story with details about a sexual experience that they have, they don't have any information to create a lie. And I know I myself, when I was a teenager, if I heard a story that I didn't understand, I would most likely laugh, which is common amongst teenagers. So if they complain to someone like Ghislaine Maxwell, of course she would not report it to law enforcement. It does not mean that their allegations are any less valid, but it just went no further. One of the women that was involved in the 1991, the article opens with a description of these group of young girls, 14, 15 years old, being put on the Spirit of New York, which is a boat, if I got the name correctly from memory, along with a group of older men, in some cases as old as could be their grandfather, and all being put there. Other than the men being involved, it would be just like any teenage high school prom party or something. So, and Donald Trump was involved in that. And one of the girls at that time was from Louisville, Kentucky. And she says that, after that, when she got back home, she quit school and tried to pursue other things. And there's a concluding comment from her at the end of the article. And another point of interest, and it's not to be taken any way other than it's contained in the article, Donald Trump's present wife, Melania, was involved with Look of the Year in 1992, which means she just missed that 1991 boat trip. Excuse me. So the woman's name is Stacy Wilkes. After Look of the Year 1991, Stacy Wilkes returned to Louisville, Kentucky, and quit school. She is content with the path her life took, but adds that women raising concerns at the time were ignored. I think models from 90s tried so hard over and over, and nobody believed what we had to say. That's it. Hashtag.